Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome back to Crack Grade B. मेरा नाम है ऋषभ. Let's begin today's class for Economics and Finance Issues and Analysis. And we are actually running late by 2 days, so we will cover it accordingly. Okay, good morning Priya, good morning Nivedita. Let's start the class. Some of the news you must remember, you must have read somewhere else, but still I have to cover, so I will. Okay, so number one, CPI inflation eases to 15-month low of 5.66%. Why? अगर इन्फ्लेशन कम हो रहा है या बढ़ रहा है, the biggest factor for CPI inflation is food. Okay. The biggest factor for CPI inflation to go up or down is food, because food has the highest weightage in CPI. ठीक है? Food prices are have the dominant weightage in CPI accounting. तो food inflation कम हुआ तो CPI automatically कम हो गया. Food inflation बढ़ गया तो CPI inflation बढ़ गया. For this time, there is a good thing also, because CPI inflation is generally what is called retail inflation or headline inflation, that has food, fuel and light prices also. But for the first time in many months, core inflation has also fallen down. Core inflation has also fallen down. We will read about it. So ठीक है, CPI inflation, the headline CPI inflation जिसको RBI monitor करती है, has fallen down to 5.66% from 6.44% earlier. Okay. Also about the factory output or IIP. Factory output or IIP. Okay, अब factory output भी it has improved. कितना हुआ है बढ़ के? Around year on year 5.6% increase in IIP. Let's read that. Not everything you will have to read. So India's retail inflation fell to a 15-month low in March. Or RBI tolerance limit is 6%. It has fallen below 6% also after 3 months actually. ठीक है, data is released by NSO. Okay, showed that CPI based inflation is 5.66%. Okay, down from 6.44%. Now, due to continued moderation in food, fuel, housing, and services prices, the top four weightage, basically food और fuel prices बहुत कम, मतलब moderate हुए हैं. जो fuel prices are again going to rise because OPEC Plus has done what? They have reduced the supply. They have reduced the supply of crude oil. If the supply will reduce, the prices will go up. तो अभी fuel price कम हुआ है, but for the next month we will not do, we don't know anything. क्योंकि बेस लाइन जो है आरबीआई का, जो बेस लाइन है वो है $85 पर बैरल. तो हम लोग अभी रशिया से कितने में खरीद रहे हैं? $50 पर बैरल. If our fuel prices will go higher, then transportation cost will go higher, then food prices will also go higher. So continued moderation in fuel prices was there because we were importing from Russia at $50 a barrel. क्योंकि $60 पर बैरल का तो कैप लगा हुआ है उस पे यूएस का, तो $50 का हम फ्यूल खरीद रहे थे. फ्यूल कॉस्ट वाज लो फॉर द लास्ट 3 months. इफ इट is going to increase again due to OPEC plus supply cuts. अब ये तुरंत नहीं दिखाई देगा. After 2 or 3 months we will see that fuel prices will again start to rise. अभी कम है तो वो खुशी मना लिया जाए. Okay, now meanwhile the factory output measured through index of industrial production grew at 5.6% in February. Okay, output growth of mining, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एंड इलेक्ट्रिसिटी, एवरी सेक्टर ग्रोथ. 3 मेजर सेक्टर होते हैं, ठीक है. 3 broad sectors are there in IIP. Manufacturing highest weightage, then mining and electricity. Okay, so this is about IIP. This is about IIP. Just remember this number, 5.6% released by, ठीक है, released by NSO, and manufacturing has the highest weightage. Now food inflation fell to below 5%, 4.79% in March from around 6% in February. Okay, now core inflation, very important. It was sticky core inflation was there because it was not falling down below 6%. But for this time it has fallen below 6%. So core inflation, which exclude food and fuel items, also fell below 6% in March. ठीक है, फूड और फ्यूल जनरली जो डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज होती है, दे यूज कोर इन्फ्लेशन टू कैलकुलेट देयर इन्फ्लेशन. ठीक है, वहां फूड एंड फ्यूल आइटम्स को कैलकुलेट नहीं किया जाता, बट डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज यूजेस रिटेल इन्फ्लेशन, जो हेडलाइन इन्फ्लेशन होता है, दैट इंक्लूड्स फूड एंड फ्यूल आइटम्स, बिकॉज इसका बहुत मेजर शेयर होता है इन द इकोनॉमी ऑफ डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज. ओके, नाउ okay, that's it. Now important, but this is a draft circular. Draft circular means it's not a rule currently. अब ये rule नहीं है. It has been promulgated for the public opinion. ठीक है, public can give their opinion, stakeholders can give their opinion. If a certain change will be required, it will be done. ठीक है, but changes क्या होंगे क्या नहीं होंगे, draft circular क्या है क्या नहीं है, just we will have a look about it. So let's read the headline first. So RBI issued draft circular on fair lending practice, penal charges in loan accounts. So basically rough idea अगर इस draft circular का लेंगे, the draft circular rough idea will be that currently when the banks give loans or credit or advances, and if you are not paying them back on time, especially if you are retail customer of them, ये अभी आएगा भी, if you are especially if you are retail customer for them, correct Maharshi Roy Chaudhary. So we will read about it. So basically what the banks do currently, that they not only they do not put the penalty charges on you, they actually put penalty interest rate. अब interest rate के साथ problem क्या है? What is the problem with interest rate? That interest rate keep on accumulating forever. ठीक है, अब मान लो तुमने 8% पे इंटरेस्ट रेट पे लोन लिया, तुम किसी वजह से एक ईएमआई नहीं दे पाए, and 0.5% is added to your interest rate as a penalty source. Now the banks are using that 0.5% extra penalty interest rate to earn money that is unfair as per RBI. RBI has said that जो EMI नहीं दे पाए, for example for a monthly, a person or a retail credit, whoever has taken loan has not given you back the EMIs, just put a penalty charge for that month only. Do not try to profiteer, ठीक है, in this way by putting penalty interest rate instead of penalty charges. क्योंकि penalty interest लगेगा तो it will be occurring every month. 0.5% मान लो उन्होंने बढ़ा दिया कि तुमने नहीं दिया वो EMI, I will take 0.5% extra interest rate. तो अब वो हर महीने तुम्हें देना है penalty interest rate. ठीक है, तो RBI has said that we will not allow this. That will be unfair. So let's read the full news now. So applicable for all commercial bank, including SFB, local area bank, regional rural bank, excluding payments bank. Now, can anyone answer why payment banks are excluded from this? Can anyone answer why payments bank are excluded from this? Also for primary UCBs, NBFs, all NBFCs, all India financial institution like Exim Bank, because Exim Bank, NABARD, NHB, SEBI, NABFID, every institution gives loans. So any institution that gives loans is under this circular, draft circular. Okay, but yes, correct Maharshi. But payments bank cannot, because payments banks are not allowed to give credit. They can give credit when they tie up with certain other banks. ठीक है, जैसे IPPB है, they are giving loans with help of SDFC. किसी ना किसी banks के साथ tie up कर लेंगे, then they can facilitate through their branches. But वो खुद they cannot lend. The payments bank cannot lend. Correct. Okay. Now the RBI has announced draft norms on penal charges levied by the banks and non-banking financial companies on loan accounts to bring transparency. Okay. The quantum of charges should be proportionate to the default. Proportionate to the default. मतलब, for example, if a person is defaulting for 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, तो जितना उनका interest है, whatever interest they should pay or whatever EMI they should be paying for the 3 months, let's say, the default के proportionate में you should put a penalty charge and not penalty interest rate. Okay, the quantum of penal charges shall be proportional to defaults, non-compliance of material terms and conditions of loan contract beyond a threshold. ठीक है. Also, these penalty charges shall not be discriminatory within a particular loan or product category. This means that you cannot have a different rule for different type of borrowers. For example, for retail borrowers, you have a different rule. For corporate borrowers, for the same penalty, you have a different rule. ऐसा नहीं कर सकते. These are the draft changes. Also, the regulator has mandated the penalty charges on loans sanctioned to individual borrowers for the purpose other than business must not be higher than the penalty charges applicable to non-individual borrowers. Okay, means retail and non-individual means corporate borrowers both have the should have the same penalty charges and retail के ऊपर ज़्यादा penalty आप नहीं लगा सकते for the same offense or for the same default. Okay, also they have said that penalty charges are not meant to be used as a revenue enhancement tool. Very important phrase. It cannot be used for revenue enhancement tool because if they increase, अगर वो interest लगा देंगे, now since compounding होती है interest की, there is a compounding of interest. Compounding means it gets on adding more and more charges. ठीक है, तो वो revenue enhancement tool कितना penalty charges use नहीं करेंगे banks or NBFCs. That should be kept in mind. Okay, so banks cannot use it as a revenue enhancement tool. ठीक है, above the contracted rate of interest, supervisory reviews have indicated divergent practices among the regulated entities. Regulated entities here are banks, NBFC, etc. Okay. Now, regulators said default or non-compliance by the borrower should be treated as penalty charges and should not be levied in the form of penalty interest. ठीक है, that is added to the interest rate charged on the advance. For example, you take a home loan on 9%, let's say, and 0.5% because you defaulted on some of your EMIs, 0.5% it is added to your interest rate. तो ये नहीं कर सकते. Okay. The norms will not be applicable for credit cards because they are covered under product specific directions. Though credit cards are type of lending cards, but उसके ऊपर ये norms नहीं होगा. It will be for loans, okay, or advances by the banks directly. So banks and NBFCs have allowed to change credit risk premium if the risk profile of the borrower changes. Okay. The risk profile means if the borrowers, let's say तुम्हारा credit score कम है, ठीक है, or you have defaulted on some of your credit card loans or some other bank loans, then your credit score will further fall down. So banks or NBFCs, they can change your risk premium or risk profile, and if you have a more risky profile, then banks can charge a higher credit risk premium. Okay. Now, okay, that's it. 15th of May तक you can obviously give your valued opinions to RBI. Okay, now this is UN CTAT. This UN body is and ठीक है, UN CTAT sees India's growth slipping to 6% in 2023. Okay. So the UN Trade and Development Conference UN CTAT headquartered Geneva, जिसका कोई नहीं उसका Geneva, in its latest Trade and Development Report, remember this report, Trade and Development Report by Trade and Development Conference, UN CTAT. Okay, the global growth to drop to 2.1% compared to 2.2% that was projected in September. ठीक है, just remember 2.1% global growth rate. Global growth rate 2.1 होगी, same year यानी 2023 में और financial year 24 में India की growth rate will be 6%. Okay, India's growth rate in 2022 or financial year 2023, same thing, was 6.6% as per UN CTAD. Okay, it warned that developing countries are facing years of difficulty as the global economy slows down. Okay. Now the report said India grew 6.6% in 2022, but India was not the fastest growing economy. It ceded its pole position to Saudi Arabia that grew at 8.6% in 2022 calendar year. Okay. For India, you can also extend it to financial year 2023. ठीक है, तो India was second fastest growing economy ठीक है, and it ceded the position to Saudi Arabia that grew at 8.6%. ठीक है, among G20 countries. Okay, the positive effect of high public and private investment and consumption as well as rising export was partly offset by higher energy import bills which deepened the current account deficit and ate up reserve. Current account deficit will be around 3%. ठीक है, तो ये कहना चाह रहा है UNCTAD that though the public expenditure was high because government was spending more on capital expenditure, private investment was high because we have seen that credit growth was there. Private companies were also investing. Consumption was also high due to pent-up demand. But हमारा export bill भी बढ़ा, export बढ़ा, but our import bill also rose due to higher cost of fuel. Last year the cost of fuel was high. हमने रशिया से इंपोर्ट करना सितंबर के बाद कायदे से शुरू किया है, ठीक है, from August September. But we had higher import bill of oil. Okay, high energy import bill. That's why our current account deficit also rose. So remember this number 6.6% for 2022 and 6% for 2023 for India. 2.1% will be the global growth. Now again debt to GDP ratio may rise from financial year 24. Okay, now debt to GDP ratio ideally 2025 तक इंडिया को करना है 60%. Ideally, as per FRBM, ideally center plus state का debt to GDP ratio should be 60%, 40% for center, 20% for states. State का तो अभी 29% चला है. But we are currently in financial year 23, our debt to GDP ratio as per IMF is 83.1%. ठीक है, यही numbers है. We have to read about around these numbers only. ठीक है, our current debt to GDP ratio is 83.1%. By 2025 we aim to come down to 60% as per FRBM. But वो ऐसा होता हुआ दिख नहीं रहा है. ठीक है, as per IMF from financial year 24 means this financial year 24, our debt to GDP ratio is going to rise further and further. ठीक है, peaking at financial year 27 and then again falling down, not much, but it will start to fall down after financial year 27. 83.1 था financial 23 में, it will rise to 83.2%, then 83.7, then 83.8. ठीक है, it will saturate at 83.8, then start to fall down. But IMF has said कि अब हमारा debt to GDP ratio rise करेगा as against the target of 60%. Okay. Now, what is the report name? Fiscal Monitor Report. In the latest Fiscal Monitor Report, IMF said the debt to GDP ratio will rise to 83.2% in financial year 24 and it will further rise to 83.8% by financial year 27. ठीक है, और उसके बाद it will saturate and start to come down. Okay, highest हमारा कब हुआ? 88.5% in financial year 21, means in the COVID years, the lockdown COVID years, when the government was spending too much, ठीक, in social sector. Now, it has gradually reduced to 83.1% in 23, but it will start, it is going to rise again by financial year, end of financial year 24. Now, combined fiscal deficit, which hit a high of around 13% in financial year 21, will continue to moderate and touch 7.6% in financial year 29. Both ये combined है center and state. ऐसे center के लिए 5.9% for this year है, but यहाँ IMF अपनी बात कर रहा है, तो financial year 29 तक, by financial year 29, India's center plus state fiscal deficit will be 7.6%. Okay. Now, it is also said the gradual and moderate fiscal tightening will not be sufficient to prevent public debt ratio, okay, from resuming an upward trend. Fiscal tightening means government reducing their revenue expenditure. ठीक है, अपना fiscal tightening भी करेगी अगर government, तब भी public debt ratio will not come down. Okay, because it has said interest payment as share of revenues in emerging market economies like India, etc., and low income developing countries are expected to remain higher over the medium term than before the pandemic. Why? Because अब debt to GDP ratio है, मतलब हमारी debt ज्यादा हो रही है as per the ratio of GDP. Debt upon GDP की तो बात कर रहे हैं. तो debt बढ़ रही मतलब loans बढ़ रहे हैं. Loans बढ़ रहे हैं तो वापस भी तो करोगे in medium or long term. If you are going to return the loans, you will have to give away interest payment as share of revenues. ठीक है? So interest payment as share of revenues in emerging markets are expected to remain on a higher side. Okay. Why? Because obviously debt is higher, so interest payments will be higher. That's why. Now, IMF said the role of inflation surprises in debt reduction during 2022 was shaped by individual countries' debt size and composition. So countries with high initial level of debt combined with large inflation surprises and strong growth experienced significant debt declines. And in some emerging markets, on other hand, rising interest rates almost fully offset the impact of inflation surprises, that is India. Now यहाँ पे दो बात होती है. Traditional debt problem, debt issue से जूझने वाले countries like Greece, that is highly under debt of China. Okay, more Chinese billboards will be there than the Greek ones in Greece. Okay, so during years after pandemic, that is 2022, what happened was due to higher inflation but also higher growth in Greece, higher inflation but also higher growth in Greece. Why higher growth in Greece? Because since the economy is open, people, the pent up demand of traveling also rose. ठीक है, सबके पास एक एक बूस्टर शॉट था, सबको घूमने जा रहा था. कहाँ जाओगे? संतोरनी जाएंगे. Every so tourist destination countries saw higher influx of people, higher growth. अब growth बढ़ी, ठीक है, the growth increase that causes debt declines. ठीक है, inflation बढ़ा, growth बढ़ी, debt decline देखा गया. Okay, and some emerging economies like India, so we had in reason our interest rate obviously 250 basis points से हमने रिजर्व बैंक ने अपना इंटरेस्ट रेट रेपो रेट बढ़ाया है by 250 basis point. Have we seen moderation in inflation? Yes, we have. 7% टच किया था हमने सितंबर में, 7.1%. Now we are around 5%, 5.6%. So yes, we have seen the reduced impact of inflation. As on paper, yes, we have seen reduced impact of inflation. CPI inflation has come down to below 6%. Okay. Okay. That's it. Don't remember everything else. Budget से कैसे अलग है, क्या है, क्यों है. Not important for RBI. Now competition amendment bill gets president assent. वो पास हो गया था राज्यसभा से around 3rd of April. We have read about it in a class of 6th of April or 7th of April. तो PDF एक बार पढ़ लेना. That's it. Okay. Now DPIIT to take up in startup angel tax with finance minister. It's not a very important news क्योंकि budget में it was said in the finance bill, because finance bill are also passed with the same. In the budget, the finance minister has said, apart from domestic investors, even foreign angel investors funds will be taxed as other sources income for startups. ठीक है, तो foreign से let's say they are getting valuations and fundings, foreign fundings, these startups, they will also be taxed. And taxed how? Means there will be a fair value evaluation of the companies or startups. क्योंकि जनरली इंडिया में कोई भी जनरली स्टार्टअप जो होते हैं दे आर हाईली ओवर वैल्यूड. ठीक है, सो एग्जैक्ट इवेल्युएशन विल बी डन एज पर देयर एसेट साइज, देयर बिजनेस, एंड वॉट एवर हायर अमाउंट that they are getting through international investors also, that will be taxed. ठीक है, but the obviously the startups has gone to finance ministry and DPIIT, Department of Promotion for Industry and Trade, that please don't do this. ठीक है, please don't do this, else the incoming flow of angel investor funds in India or venture capital funds in India will slow down and it will hit the booming startup ecosystem in India. If you start taxing everything, why will the startups will want to be headquartered in India? Okay. So calculation of fair market value and evaluation will be done. So let's see what are the provision. अब ये बातचीत है, जो बातचीत है that is not necessary to remember. ठीक है, there will be an outcome after this discussion, then it will can be important for us. This talking between ministry and the stakeholders is not important. So as per new provision of what? Finance bill that has been passed recently. The angel tax will be applied on the premium to fair market value of a company's shares. For example, fair market value of your company is 10 crore. You are raising funds and evaluating your company at 100 crore. तो जो 90 करोड़ का difference है between fair market value and your actual evaluation versus your boost up evaluation, वो जो difference है, the tax will be charged, income tax will be charged upon that difference amount. Okay. And it will be construed as income from other sources, just as domestic investor अगर invest करता है company में, तो it is shown as income from other sources. वही होगा foreign investors के साथ. Okay. Now again, India-Italy may finalize migration and mobility agreement. ठीक है, because दो चीजें इसमें समझने की है. Maharshi Roy Chaudhary, no. IFSC will have a very different set of rules and regulations. But जब तक वो rules नहीं बनते हैं, तब तक yes, this will be that. This finance bill, this resolution will be there also. But because IFSC will not be governed directly by the rules and regulations of the Indian law. Okay. Unless until the finance ministry specifically says that this will be applicable to IFSC, so it will not be until. Okay, now India-Italy may finalize migration and mobility agreement. अब ये agreement क्यों होना है? Because Italy has second highest Indian population in Europe after UK. सबसे ज़्यादा UK में, then Italy. But in Italy also, what Indians do there is the biggest sort of pool of Indians work in agriculture and dairy sector in Italy. Italy जाके कहाँ काम करना है? Agriculture and that dairy sector. But this migration is generally sometimes very illegal. So इस illegal migration को कम करने के लिए and to reduce the impact of touts यानी दलाल, ठीक है, दलाल agents, इनकी impact को कम करने के लिए India and Italy are going to finalize a migration agreement. So India and Italy are close to finalizing a migration and mobility partnership deal. ठीक है, to ensure transparent and clean migration in order to reduce exploitation of worker by touts and agents. ठीक है, reduce exploitation by migrants by touts and agents. We have seen multiple videos also. इधर भी तो काफी videos देखी गई है ना, जब Indians are sent to Mexico, ठीक है, and they are told that you can walk to the US borders. ठीक है, not many can make up to it. ठीक है, some people go to jail, some people die in that let's say war due to harsh conditions of the desert. ठीक है, hot and cold weather. That's why. तो Italy में भी ऐसा हो रहा है with the Indian migrant workers. ठीक है, so to reduce that, this migration mobility partnership deal will be between India and Italy. ठीक है, Indian workers are being trapped in exploitative conditions in Italy's agriculture sector. Italy is home to around 2 lakh Indians, the largest Indian diaspora after the UK, working in agriculture and dairy sectors. Okay. Remember this name, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Why remember? Because she is the new Prime Minister of Italy. ये recent development है, तो if you can remember this name, Giorgia Meloni. ठीक है, they are looking to tighten migration procedures. That's why India, जहाँ से सबसे ज़्यादा human resource export किया जाता है in foreign, ठीक है, legally or illegally, so that's why India and Italy are going to sign a migration deal. Now SIDBI funds of fund commits 100 crore to 5 venture. Not important. Okay. याद क्या रखना है ये SIDBI's fund of funds for startups was launched in 2016. Total corpus was 10,000 crore. Out of this 10,000 crore, around 8,000 crore rupees have been used by SIDBI. ठीक है. 2016 में शुरू किया गया था फंड ऑफ फंड फॉर स्टार्टअप्स. ठीक है. पाई. ओके. सी हियर पाई वेंचर्स इज आल्सो अ स्टार्टअप. उसमें 100 करोड़ इन्वेस्ट किया है सिडबी ने. नॉट इम्पोर्टेंट. इम्पोर्टेंट है ये फंड ऑफ फंड है क्यों फॉर स्टार्टअप्स. Launched in 2016, total corpus 10,000 crore, used corpus 8,000 crores. Okay. Now, a Stanford University study has said that Indian startups that deals with artificial intelligence is now 5th highest globally. ठीक है. 5th highest है globally for the year 2022. Okay. So India ranked 5th in terms of investment received by startups that are offering artificial intelligence based products. ठीक है. AI based प्रोडक्ट्स. ठीक है. 5th है. याद रखना है बस. ये रिपोर्ट किसकी है. स्टैनफोर्ड एनुअल AI इंडेक्स रिपोर्ट. इट इज फॉर फेज 1. फेज 2 में रिपोर्ट नहीं आएगी. इट्स अ नॉट वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रिपोर्ट. ठीक है. Total investment in AI startups in India stood at $3.24 billion in 2022. $3.24 billion in 2022. And India's fifth after US, China, UK and Israel. ठीक है. US, China, UK and Israel as far as funding in AI startups are, investments in AI startups are concerned. India is fifth. For a period between 2013 and 2022, India has received around $7.7 billion of funding in AI startups. ठीक है. यहाँ पे ये 6th लीडिंग कंट्री है आफ्टर साउथ कोरिया. वो 4 नाम और प्लस साउथ कोरिया. इंडिया इज देन द 6th लीडिंग कंट्री ईयर वाइज. टोटल पिछले 9-10 years में $7.73 billion, out of which $3.24 billion in 2022 itself. Okay. Now here, insurance players need to augment their capital. IRDI Chairman Debashish Panda has said. Now remember this name, IRDI Chairman Debashish Panda. That will be important. Now he has also said, the chairman has said that the sector needs to infuse approximately 50,000 crore every year in order to double the insurance penetration in the country. ठीक है. 50,000 crore हर साल चाहिए to double the insurance penetration in the country. Also he has said, because insurance में FDI is around 74%, बढ़ के 74% हो गया. So he has also said that the companies who have foreign partners or foreign investors in their company should use and leverage the money that those foreign investors are bringing to improve the insurance penetration in the country. Okay. See, those companies which have a foreign partner should look at this opportunity to bring more capital and grow even faster. Okay. Also, he has said that they are working towards moving from factor-based solvency regime to a risk-based capital regime. Factor-based means अभी solvency ratio पहले से पता होता है. ठीक है. To means your asset upon your liability तो आपको होना चाहिए 150% होना चाहिए, 1.5 times solvency ratio of your total asset and total liability. But जैसे banks में कैसे होता है, 9% of risk weighted asset, those assets which are risky, उसका 9% आपको tier 1 capital रखना होता है ना. Risk based approach. तो insurance sector will also be looking to go from factor based solvency approach, ठीक है, to a risk based approach. Okay. Okay, that's it for today. Let's do MCQs. Not much MCQs are there. Easy, easy. Okay, those people who are watching recording, please try it. Please try to comment also. Okay, question number 1. Let's do it. Question number 1. India's retail inflation 2023. Okay, correct. A is the right answer, 5.66%. Okay, now second question. What is the projected economic growth of India? Correct, Nivedita. Correct, Aniket. A is the right answer for the question number 1. Now, what is the projected economic growth rate of India in 2023 as per UNCTAD? Correct, Aniket. Is right. It is D, 6.6%. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Oh, it's not. I have done it wrong. So in 2023 means financial year 24. It will be 6%. Not, it will be C, not 6.6. 6.6 was for 2022. Okay. That's all is here. Okay, now what is the India's projected debt to GDP ratio in financial year 27 as per IMF Fiscal Monitor report? Remember this name, Fiscal Monitor report by IMF. This will be more important than these all numbers. So Aniket Nivedita, for last question it will be C. Now this question. In financial year 27, if you remember, I have told the debt to GDP ratio will peak and it will peak at 83.8%. Okay, so D is the correct answer. Now question number 4. What is the focus of migration and mobility partnership between India and Italy? What is the focus of migration? Correct, Aniket, for the last question. What is the focus of the migration and mobility partnership deal being finalized between India and Italy? Correct, Nivedita. It's A, to reduce exploitation of migrants by touts and agents. Okay. Last question. What was the total investment received by AI startups in India in 2022 as per Stanford University's annual AI Index report? Last. See, A here is between 2013 to 2022. 9-10 year period, the 9-year period actually. So correct answer here is for only 2022 it is $3.24 billion. B is the right answer. Okay, correct, Aniket, it's B. A is for the period between 2013 to 2022. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you everyone for joining. We will complete our rest of current affairs that we are lagging behind tomorrow and day after tomorrow. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. I hope you like the lecture. अगर आज के lecture से आपकी knowledge में value add हुई है तो do like and share. मिलते हैं in the next class. तक के लिए thank you. Bye bye.